Friends, welcome back. I'm Jason, and what I want to know is what's in your sack? For our next Suffering with Salyer event, the survival challenge that I like to often partake in, and I invite my friends along with me to enjoy in the misery. For the next event, we're going to do what's in your sack. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take a bandana like this one right here, and whatever you can fit in this bandana, essentially like that right there, and still be able to gather the four corners together, pick it all up like that, secure it somehow in some way without stuff falling out, nothing tied to the outside or anything like that. That is what you're allowed to bring. So whatever will fit inside of a standard size bandana like this one, it's about 19 by 19 and a half, 20 inches. So say, roughly a 20-inch square bandana. Your kind of standard size bandana like the one that I'm wearing around my neck. So what I want you guys to do at home is I want you to build yourselves a bandana survival kit like this one right here. Put together stuff, and what I'm doing is I'm adding an extra layer to the challenge, and I'm not going to be including my normal everyday carry stuff like my On3 EDC. I'm not going to have my normal, the lighter that's in my pocket, my flashlight, none of that stuff. I'm not going to be including any of that stuff. I'm going to be kind of thinking outside the box a little bit, maybe going a little bit more old school gear, perhaps, just some scrap stuff that I've got laying around the house, items that I wouldn't typically carry or use. So what's going to be first on my list? And that's going to be food, friends. I don't want to get hungry. I don't want to get hungry when I'm out there in the wilderness surviving. So what I'm going to put in here is 2 cans, well, maybe 2 cans, possibly just one, depends on my space. But 2 cans of sardines right there. These are just sardines and olive oil, I think it is. I know it's oil, but I'm assuming it's olive oil. And this is just some rice, some dried rice with salt already added. So if I combine these two together, I'll have, approximately a 500-calorie meal right there. And that, to me, is going to be really nice at the end of the day, after you've been doing all the activities that you've been engaging in. It's going to be really nice to have an actual meal. So I'm going to start with my food right there. And like I said, we can delete 1 can of sardines if we have to. Right on to one of my next favorite topics, and that's going to be some sort of cutting tool. Now, a lot of people prioritize this really high. If I'm in a survival situation of any kind, so I get thrown into the wilderness and I could only bring one item, I'd bring my Bowie knife, my big knife. Sure. But I've been in a lot of situations where a knife just wasn't essential. It wasn't necessary. Yes, you can make a lot of different tools and build shelters and do a lot of things, but you can do a lot of that stuff without a knife. Our ancestors did a lot of stuff. They did everything without the modern convenience of a steel-bladed knife with just sharp rocks. So, and depending where you live, that may or may not be an option too. I've been in some places where there weren't any rocks at all, and that made things a little bit challenging when doing a little bit more primitive type survival. But what I'm getting to is that a knife is really important to me, and it's a very handy tool, and I don't typically go anywhere without one. But it's not necessarily my top number 1 priority. You can disagree in the comment section if you like, and call me all sorts of ugly names if you like. I look forward to those. But sticking on to the theme of stuff that I wouldn't normally carry, I'm not going to be taking my EDC, my On3 EDC, or my my Opinel knife, my number 8 that I've been carrying around lately that I really enjoy carrying. I'm not going to bring those. I'm going to bring something different. And I thought one thing that might be interesting is to bring, just a cheapo razor knife. Like that one right there. I mean, that will do pretty much all of the things that I need a knife to do. It will cut the cordage. I could clean a fish, a squirrel. I could do some light carving, very light carving. Obviously, it's just a razor blade. Let's scrape a ferro ride with the backside of the razor knife right there. Probably even a different portion of the razor knife if I had to guess. Small, lightweight, economical, easy to replace the blades and all that stuff. I could carry a couple extra blades with it if I chose to do that route. Or what I thought would be cool is to use this knife that I made right here. This is a knife I made out of an old Sawzall blade, just one of the small I don't know, whatever they are, 4-inch Sawzall blades. I ground it down, and I put this really pretty, what is it, black walnut handle on there, soaked it in boiled linseed oil, and it's a pretty cool little knife. It might need a little touching up to get it in a serviceable condition, and then in my normal fashion, I make everything out of PVC. A PVC little sheath right there that you can stick in your pocket or wear around your neck. In the comment section, I want to know what you guys think. Give me a vote. Handmade knife, homemade Sawzall knife, or just a simple razor knife. Which one would you choose? Which one should I bring along on the challenge? Give me your vote. And whichever one wins, that's the one I'll bring. A container of sorts for water. I'm not going to have a water bottle or anything like that. I'm not going to be carrying any water. I'm just going to be able to collect it and potentially boil it in there if I need to. If I get it from a spring head or something, I typically drink water around here a lot without doing anything to it. Not that I'd recommend that you do that, but that's what I do. I've told you guys about this before, my philosophy on testing, sampling a little bit of water from pretty much everywhere I go, building up my immunity to all sorts of different bacterium that are out there. It's worked well for me. Again, wouldn't necessarily suggest that you do it, but it's worked well for me. But I drink water around here all the time, and without doing anything to it. But a little cup like this, just a stainless steel camp cup. This happens to be my favorite one, the one that I keep in my truck all the time. I misplaced this one a while back at a group camp, but I finally tracked it down and got it back. It's my favorite one, so I'm going to be bringing that one along. And another thing that I'm kind of restricting myself from is, like I said, my normal EDC stuff. Like, it'd be cheating, I think, to use the Wazoo gear that I'm so fond of. I've got my Wazoo cash belt on right there. And inside of there, I've got all sorts of gear. I mean, I've got essentially pretty much everything that I'd need aside from, like, larger shelter components. But I'm not going to be using any of that because I think it'd be too easy, like the water bags and the water purification tablets and the sewing kit, all the fishing kits, all the things that I got in my belt. I won't be bringing any of that because I think it's just too easy. Friends, real quick, if you like this channel, if you like the content, what you're seeing here, and of course you do, and that's why you're here, you love this kind of stuff, please consider subscribing, becoming a member of the channel. We're on Substack, we're on Patreon. You could become a member there or at either of those places and help support my channel, my cause, and the things that I do, and that is encouraging you, people like you, to get out there and experience life, live life to the fullest and not in fear, because the more prepared that we are, the less likely we're going to get ourselves into some trouble. So thanks, guys. I really do appreciate any and all support. Carrying on. Thought about bringing a little alcohol stove like this one that I made out of just an aluminum can, but it's getting cold, guys. I don't know if you can see how I'm dressed. It's like 41 degrees this morning. It's getting chilly, and I'm going to want a fire. So I'll be cooking over a fire and stuff. We're not trying to be in stealth mode or anything like that for this experience, for this challenge, this Suffering with Salyer event. So I'm going to bypass the stove and have to carry any alcohol. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to have a fire. I always carry a Bic lighter on me, but for this challenge, we're not using those. We're going to go old school matches. I think that'd be cool. I could go flint and steel. Ooh, maybe. Might go flint and steel. We'll see. Let me know in the comment section. But matches, I thought, are great. I never use matches, ever. I don't even own any matches. I had to go steal these from my mom that lives about a quarter mile from here. Had to go steal some matches from her so I could add these to the kit. But essentially, I've got myself 32 matches. It's about to be 31. My hands are cold. Hands are kind of numb. That's one of the reasons why I don't like matches, because they're so piddly, It's easy to break them with cold, numb fingers. It's easy to mess the match up. But with 32 of them, aside from getting them wet, I think I could probably make that happen. So we'll have a box of matches. Probably keep that. I could keep that in the Ziploc bag. Or my little kind of sewing tin here that I've had forever. This is an old box of old can of pellets here. And it works great. It's really secure. It keeps everything in there tidy. I've got some super glue in there, safety pins. This is a little Wazoo kit right there, the Wazoo hardware kit. It's got some fishing hooks and stuff. I might cheat a little and keep that in there. May or may not use any of this. Most likely won't use it. Some thread, some heavier thread there, some string. I've got some needles. Here's a handmade needle. I made this one out of a big thorn. I forget what tree this came off of. I thought it was a locust tree, but I think it might have been off of a different tree, and I can't remember what this thorn was. But anyway, I made myself a cool little handmade needle right there. I've got a couple extra buttons and whatnot in case I should lose one, but I can make pretty much any and all repairs to my clothing or gear with that right there. Some tape wouldn't be a bad addition. Of course, you can never go wrong with duct tape, but I think in this situation, I'll help keep my matches dry if I can get them to fit. Get them to fit in this little tin. Ooh, I also have a candle, which is super nice. That won't fit in there, but we might be able to throw that into the mix there and get away with it. We'll see. Let's talk shelter here. We're super limited on space, and ideally what I would throw in something of this size would be a Mylar emergency blanket. They keep you pretty warm considering what they are, how thin they are, because they can reflect some body heat back to you, which is fantastic, especially when used in conjunction with a fire. Man, you can really make yourself a little oven with a Mylar blanket, which is nice. But I'm not going to use that because that's what I would typically do. I have a trash bag here. I also have a piece of Tyvek right there. It's not big, but big enough. So that would be my protection from the elements. That fit pretty good. A candle, maybe I even stick it in there to protect it. Stick it in between the layers of the trash bag, fold it over. I could definitely use this to help me start my fire. Take a bit of it, fuzz it up, and use that for tinder if I can't find any dry tinder for some reason. That burns really good. There you go. See? That's 6, 12, 24 feet maybe. That should be plenty. Let's see how sharp our little neck knife is. It does the job. Definitely needs a little sharpening, but it does the job. Oh, I think that's going to be no problem to bundle that up. Oh, that's easy. We got room. We got room for stuff. Dang, that piece of Tyvek would be nice if I could get that as well. Oh, look at that. Like that. Our knife goes on the side. Extra can of sardines. Is that gonna work? Aha, that's not bad right there. So normally, you know, when you do something like this, you end up with too much and then you have to start weeding stuff out. But in this situation, I've got fire, pretty much guaranteed source of fire with those matches, as long as I can keep them dry and I don't screw it up in some way. Water, I could boil and collect water in my cup. Let's see, shelter, yeah, decent shelter for one person with what I've got here. A little bit fragile with the trash bag, of course, especially if I'm near a fire. You got to be careful with that. Any hot embers are just going to melt right through that. So we got to be a little bit careful with that. Flash, I don't have any kind of flashlight or anything like that, but you know, maybe I just won't use one. You know, our ancestors went a long time, centuries without, millennia without using flashlights. So I think that I'll do fine for an evening without one. Some sort of security. Yeah, you know, if the marauders come into camp at night, this is essentially all I've got. But you know, without risk, there is no reward. Communications, you know, I don't have anything other than an audible signal. I can whoop, obviously, with my voice. I can bang on this tin can, that kind of stuff. So I've got essentially the gist, the survival priorities I've got wrapped up into my bandana here. And I think that I might be good. I've got some food. I've got myself a meal, which is nice. Not necessary for a day out, but sure is dang up nice. Ooh, and a cup of coffee would be nice too. Maybe I'll throw that in there. But for now, I've just got to figure out a way to carry all this. So Maggie's at it again. Last night she got sprayed by another skunk. major malfunction on my part last night. So I was awoken last night with the sounds of chickens being attacked. So I was like, crap, something's going after the chickens. So I get up, I throw my pants on, I grab a firearm with a light on it, and I head outside, and the light is just blank, nothing, black light. Doesn't work at all, battery's dead. So I grab another one with another light on it, also dead. I did not have my flashlight in my pocket. It was in my truck. I was in the dark completely, and I had no idea what was going on. A chicken got carried off. I could hear its screams in the distance. I set Maggie out after it. Who knows what happened? I don't think it was a skunk. I think that was a different encounter. Anyway, and then early this morning, somewhere around 6 a.m., Maggie went outside barking at something. She's going at it, barking. I'm like, she's after a possum or something. Skunk. We smelled it from out. The windows are all, it's cold. It's like 40 degrees. We had everything shut down, but we could still smell the skunk pretty strong because it sprayed right outside of our house. So there's that. Maggie smells awful again. She was just getting over the last spraying, which was only a couple months ago. Not even a couple months ago. Chaos. But I got to get batteries in those guns so I can make sure that I'm ready next time and not be so ill prepared. Do a little slip loop there. Feed the four corners through. Loop. Like that. Cinch that down, and then I'll gooseneck it over perhaps like that. And wrap around a few times. Half hitch it off perhaps. We'll see how that works. So I'm on the hunt for a good schwacking stick. Never underestimate the value of a good schwacker. I think I found one. Here's a little maple sapling here. I think that would be perfect. Not too big, So a walking stick is a really handy thing. Help keep your balance. It's good for poking sticks off the trail, or for poking snakes off the trail. It's good for lots of things. I've schwacked a lot of animals. I've killed some critters with just a stick before and had myself a meal. So a stick like this one, a maple, I think will be just fine. Doesn't need to be too big, but you need it to be sturdy. So I think I'm going to use this one right here, and this is also how I'm going to carry my hobo sack. That'll do. Maggie! Hey girl. You smell terrible. Oh my. Woo! 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 You smell bad. She doesn't seem to mind. Hey. That right there is gonna do it. It's nice, the stick's long enough where it kind of balances, you put it there, you don't really even have to hold on to it. The hobos had it figured out years ago. So friends, I want to know what you'd put in your sack to go on just a 24-hour kind of survival adventure, survival experience. Can you make do when the temperatures start to drop with all you need in a bandana like that one right there? Thanks for watching, friends. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Support the channel in any way you feel necessary. I'd be grateful for all of it. Until next time, what's the worst that could happen? Let's just go on 3.